The film Precious was incorporated through a well-known author named Sapphire in 1996 with the novel Push, which was set in Harlem in 1987. Push is a well-known novel which eventually both Tyler Perry and Whoopi Goldberg produced Precious in 2009. The movie Precious was a difficult movie to judge fairly in a society with so many unsolved issues of race and racial stereotypes, such as poverty and images of poverty, sexism, sexual abuse, and silence. The movie is about young girl's memories of sexual abuse, fights at home, and her vivid fantasy life. Precious is a valuable individual who has been victimized. With minimum education and living in low poverty, Precious gains help through the life and aspires to raise her 2 children with the help of public assistance until she graduates from college. Precious has become a woman and a mother. She has learned to think. With the advice of those who surround her at home and school, Precious has eventually gained full custody over her 2 children who were fathered by her rapist. She confronts her mother in a family counseling session in the success of leaving her abusive and domestic situation to help her make an American movie become a history. The scene that had a major impact on especially dealing with our society is when Precious was a victim of sexual assault by her father. She was assaulted by him since the age of 3. In addition, she gave birth to 2 children by her father, one being diagnosed with Down syndrome. This scene partakes when she comes home from the hospital with her second child named Abdul. And her mother accuses her of feeling wanted by her abuser. An altercation forms and Precious and her child are pushed down a flight of stairs, potentially causing heart and harm to them both. Precious's mother, Mary, feels like she was never amount to Precious because she had more kids than her mother's husband gave her. As a result, it caused Mary to develop hatred and insecurities with her daughter and her relationship with her grandchildren. When questioned about Precious's abuser growing up, Mary confessed that she allowed the rape to take place so that she wouldn't lose her husband's love. In addition, both Mary and Precious' mother's-daughter relationship suffered, and the father eventually passed away, leaving Precious with HIV positive. This gives us a chance to realize that as women we should not only open our eyes to young adults who may face life-changing events by being a teen mother. However, when faced with adversity, how to remain strong, fight for change and social justice and power for those who become victims of these horrible situations. No woman should have to result in being a victim of domestic violence or abuse in order to obtain happiness in life. Precious experiences oppression through sexual abuse from her father, becoming HIV positive, and living with a mother who is indifferent and relies on drug use and a check from welfare as a source of income. Women representation are by segregation, poverty, and race. Because Precious is a female of African American descent, the film portrays how segregation in poor communities can emotionally perceive blackness and poverty, and how intensely they equate poverty and race. This is not a fair representation because an individual should not be labeled or categorized by their place of residency and culture.
In the movie, men were represented by, you would see how they would show rudeness, be aggressive, and also rapists. You saw how Precious' father, he raped her twice, and that's how she came about with 2 children by him. Also, the scene where Precious was walking down the street and you saw 3 men trying to get her attention in a rude way, aggressively, and when she ignored them, one of them came up behind her and pushed her down. So you would see scenes of men just being just aggressive and rude towards her. Also, you saw men who were nice, caring, and genuine. Her math teacher, Mr. Winch, he showed that he was very nice and caring and wasn't negative, didn't show any negative feelings towards her. And also, the male nurse, Nurse John, he cared for her, he was there with her for the delivery of her son, and he just showed that he was very genuine about how he felt about her, and he really did care. You could see that. We do feel that men the men representation in the movie is fair, because in today's society, you see both spectrums. You see men who are rude, aggressive, and just don't know how to treat women. But then also, you have men in society who are nice, who do care for women and do treat them well. So we do feel that the movie did give a fair representation of men. In the movie, there were a lot of stereotypes, and I feel that the stereotypes in the movie did perpetuate and challenge them, because I have witnessed, and so have my fellow group members, we have witnessed such stereotypes within society, such as struggling with academics. Precious, she struggled with academics, and she dropped out of school. But this stereotype, how all black people, they can't successfully finish school. She dropped out, but then she did also challenge the stereotype by making the decision to go to an alternative school, which was really great. Also, teenage pregnancy was another stereotype within the movie. Precious became pregnant at a young age, and you would see that in school, starting from middle school and high school, you would see that young girls would become pregnant, which is also a stereotype. Also, stealing, the stereotype that all black people steal. The scene where Precious walked into the restaurant, asked for a bucket of chicken, and just ran out when the waitress went to the back to go get something else for her. Another stereotype that I did see in the movie, as well as my group members, was that her Precious group, her classmates from the alternative school saw that the nurse that was taking care of her was a man. So they assumed that all nurses are females, which in actuality is not true. So that is another stereotype that we did see in the movie. In the movie, you did see gender-based violence. The first violence that we saw was physical violence, which is when Precious' mother would physically put her hands on her and beat her just for no reason, or just for the littlest thing. She would just find a problem with and just would put her hands on her. Also, verbal abuse, which is something that her mother did strongly. Her mother would just say how Precious wasn't good enough, and just would talk down to Precious, which could also correlate and tie in emotional abuse. So when someone is talking down to you and saying bad things about you and just verbally coming at you constantly, that can play a big role in how you see yourself, and just how it just will affect your whole mood. And a big violence that was depicted and was displayed in the movie was sexual abuse. 1 out of 4 girls and 1 out of 10 boys will experience sexual assault before their 18th birthday. Precious was sexually abused by both her mother and her father. And with her father, that's where she got her 2 children from. Her first child, which was a girl, and was diagnosed with autism, and also her second child, her son. With Precious being sexually abused starting at the age of 3 by her father, this took a toll on her mentally. Oppressed women have a hard time dealing with who they are on the inside and sometimes on the outside, which can lead to them having a hard time caring for themselves personally. This makes it easy for them to accept such abuse, such as physical, verbal, mental, emotional, and sexual abuse, without thinking anything is wrong with it.
There are many examples of inequality shown in the workforce. Although married, Precious' mother sits at home all day by being lazy, by collecting welfare checks, and not going into the workforce at all, this limits her opportunity for developing a better life for her family. By Precious not receiving the proper education, by having the reading level of an 8th grader, this as well creates barriers on the type of job she will be able to attain in the workforce. Most good-paying jobs require degrees, and for Precious to be able to support her family financially, she will have to finish school. The overall takeaway of the film is that Precious is the product of her choices and not a victim of her circumstances. Although Precious is a young 16-year-old African-American girl who frequently experienced verbal abuse, sexual abuse, and physical abuse from her parents, the trauma eventually takes a toll on her psychological and emotional state. As a result, this causes her to have low self-esteem. We believe Precious show how the weight of one race is a deceptive sense that society is ruled by white privilege, which is a double burden amongst the African American race. With her fantasies throughout the film, it challenged one's mind that the constant need to fit society is a mere illusion and exaggeration, or if such a vision of reality is reasonable or even possibly unavoidable. It would be a cliche saying that during the Obama campaign, his elections were proved to poor black children that they could too as well succeed in presidency. Precious, the film, reminds us that the idea and meaning behind the economic forces and psychological laws makes it easier said than done. However, in the end, Precious received counseling and improved her literacy skills and was able to escape from her wrecked home to begin her life on her own for the success of her and her children.
It is important for women to love themselves
And not let the opinions of others
stop them from being all they can be.
Thank you.